Hartness, publisher of Falstaff books. With me, as always, is my co-host, Melissa McArthur. And joining us tonight on what she certainly is going to consider the wrong side of the camera, Jean Marie Ward.
Hello, John. Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
Hi, Jean Marie.
Don't kill us.
I think I'm glad to be here.
We're always glad to have you.
Yeah, events will tell me whether that's true or not, and whether I need to take action about it.
The show's not that long. I can only screw it up so much.
There's that.
So,
Would you like a pillow? It's not my pillow, but you can have it.
Oh, I don't need the pillow yet. I
Okay.
may just smother him afterwards.
Okay.
Yes.
well, let us at least get the rest of the night's interviews in the can and then smother. Nah, screw it. Teresa and Melissa can take over. It'll be fine. Smother me at will.
Does that mean I get to be host?
You two can fight it out. All right. So why don't you tell our dozens and dozens of viewers who you are, Jean Marie?
Okay, my name's Jean Marie Ward. I write fiction, nonfiction, and everything in between, especially if somebody will pay me for it. I have written a multi-award nominated novel with the late Terry Smith, with 90 Get Vanner, 2 popular art books, a lot of short stories, and for my sins, I also do video interviews for buzzymag.com.
So go check those out, and you may very well recognize the curtains.
You may very well recognize the curtains if
Or
you
the chair.
check it out this summer, because we did an interview here a little bit earlier. You will also recognize at least one familiar face, because John is among our victims. I mean, interview subjects.
I don't know if they'll recognize me. I had different hair.
Yeah,
I'm a
but
Leo, so that's totally a thing.
Yeah, I know, but the beard and the voice give it away every time.
That's fair. Yeah, can't escape that. So what we do here on Book Babble is, now she knows this because she sat 15 feet away and watched us interview Kadri, but I'm pretending that for your benefit. What we do here is we bring in writers and friends who are within the splash zone and can't get away fast enough.
Even when we're on the secret floor.
Even when we're on the super secret floor.
And bribe them with food and
bribe them with
items
food
from
and a
the-
cheese board.
Yes, exactly.
And get you to talk about books, which is so hard to get writers
Oh God,
to do.
yes.
So the first thing I want to get you to tell me about is, what is a book that was a big influence on you?
I'm going to say 2,
Please do.
because they're by the same writer, Dashiell Hammond.
Okay.
One of my favorite mysteries, romances, cozy mysteries of all times, which was made into a wonderful movie and a terrible series, The Thin Man,
Okay.
where you get the world's best banter, and you get a woman of the 1930s who is described by a tough New York cop as having hair on her chest. And
Nice.
she's about the most feminine woman you can imagine. Nora Charles, socialite, married to a somewhat disreputable and entirely pixelated former detective named Nick Charles. And so that's a fabulous book. It's terribly funny. And then there's another book by Hammett that everybody thinks is serious until they actually see the movie and listen to those lines, said by Humphrey Bogart and Mary Astor. The Maltese Falcon. And you want to see the most subtle noir comedy ever played out in front of a camera? Watch The Maltese Falcon and stop listening to all those people that go, this is a serious movie. Just listen to what the actors are doing. And that's all directly from the page. It's some of the best dialogue ever written.
Really?
Yeah.
Now,
And
I'm
love
not an
dialogue.
old movie guy. My wife is not a guy, but she's very much an old movie fan. And I'm sure she's seen Maltese Falcon.
And The Thin Man.
And The Thin Man. But have you read the Falstaff release Malaise Falchion?
No, I've seen it downstairs in the book sale room, and I was looking at that and going, I know where they took that title, and I really should buy that book, but I haven't read it yet.
It is
Hilarious.
high fantasy, dwarf detective noir comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And we can probably find the writer
Yeah, I'm
floating
sure
around
we
somewhere.
can find the writer, and you're probably going to grab them and put them in front of the camera.
If he's downstairs in the bar, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But he lives close enough to the hotel that he may not have stayed.
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Boy, usually writers congregate in the bar, and, the idea of using that as a shooting gallery is really evil.
I mean, we put it on the programming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
Yes, to be in the bar so you too can go grab them and drag them up here and put them in front of the camera.
Yep.
That is so evil. I wish I had thought of it.
now, so Hammett is one that was an influence on you that you loved from way back. What's something recent that you love?
There's several things, but I really do like comedy. I feel the comedy is underappreciated.
I agree,
And I
says
also...
the comedy writer.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's also the fact that we are dealing in a time, a lot of people like dystopian fiction, and I look around the world and go, hello, we live in one. We, human beings, create our own dystopias all the time.
Absolutely.
And so it behooves us to create worlds that we want to live in, so we have a chance to live in them. I mean, like Star Trek, we got flip phones, we got visual phones, we got international translators. Hello, Google Translate. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. So we want to create these worlds that we want to live in. And so I tend to gravitate towards books that have worlds I want to live in.
Okay.
And there are several of them out there right now that I just adore. One of them is the Encrypted series by Sean Ann McGuire. I adore those, yes. Starting with Discount Armageddon a few years back, which was the first book I could read after my cat died.
Oh.
I mean, this is why I love comedy.
Yeah.
It's because it gets you out of a place that is really hurtful. And the road is not going to get you out of despair.
No.
No, it is going to put you in despair.
And
So-
they'll kick you
Yeah.
a few times while you're down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, when things go wrong, that's when you go find the book that's going to lift you out of there. And that doesn't mean it isn't dealing with serious things. The Encrypted series, just like, of all things, Blazing Saddles, is all about diversity and tolerance.
Yeah.
And understanding and creating a world where not only your family works, as odd as the world might see it, because she has a truly, the various characters in the Encrypted series have a very strange family. Verity and her sister Antimony, and all of the monster slayers / monster preservers that are in their parental line. They're a little odd, but the family works for them, and they find family. They create found family out of the people that their ancestors hunted and killed, and how this diversity can carry forward. And that's a very serious theme, but it is presented in a way that gives you hope and makes you laugh a little along the way. And slightly at the other end of the spectrum, where it's not quite as obviously comic, because there are moments in Discount Armageddon, and that ain't witchcraft, where you're verging on slapstick.
Yeah.
But if you go to something like The Gods of Jade and Shadow, written by Sylvia Marina Garcia, and if you haven't read
I
that,
haven't read that one.
go check it out. It's basically a book that takes a woman in a bad situation in 1920s Mexico and inserts her into a supernatural war between the gods of death. And
Cool.
it is incredibly cool. It takes on the Mayan myth and the pre-conquest myth of the hero twins, who go and plunge into the underworld and force the gods of death not to demand human sacrifice just to have the world work. Human sacrifice was a big part of Mayan and Olmec and Aztec civilization, but it was not for everything. It was not for just breathing. It was not to keep necessarily to keep the sun in the sky every day of the week. And that myth is how humanity gained control over some natural processes. And she takes that basic myth and she takes the characters, the gods of death, and reinvents it and brings it forward into the 20th century with impacts and resonances that go forward into the 21st century. And it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And oddly enough, she doesn't stick solely with the fantastic or the, she does like to work in the past. Her next book is going to be a kind of mystery that is set in the 1970s at a resort in a
And that
California
book's got a
resort.
good bit of buzz about it.
Oh yeah, well, given The Gods of Jade and Shadow, which is a Nebula nominee this year,
Okay.
it's natural that that one's going to have, but she's a brilliant, brilliant writer. And then to go in a different direction to the future, you've got the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells.
I've heard a lot of good things
Oh
about those.
man, oh, you want snarky protagonist, you want a far future world where pronouns are mutable and how you describe somebody depends sometimes on the barcode.
Oh,
Interesting.
And yet, it is the most humane, it is the most optimistic, and the most human character in it is a cyborg who doesn't like to show her face, or it's not her, it's not him, it's an it, and does not like to show its face. Shows you how much I identified with the character. I gave it my pronoun. Doesn't like to show its face because it makes the humans uncomfortable. And it's
Wow.
an amazing series. And it's so amazing that Tor, goddamn them, sold each novel in hard copy format for 20 FN bucks and got away with it. That's how amazing these stories are. And I mean, I want to do that trick. That's my goal. So those are my recommendations for the present day. Quite a variation there.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I read a lot. I will read anything if it's good, and if it's bad, if it screws up the landing. You were just talking about a book you loved because of the lyricism. My little Virgo brain got 7/8 of it, went, this is a mystery that dies on the last page. I will never read that again. Though that author has changed genres, you'll notice.
Yes.
So that says something about the success of that so-called mystery.
Yeah.
So yes, now that I've just blown everything to hell.
Well, no, I think you're right. It's not it did not succeed as a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an urban fantasy family drama.
It was an urban fantasy family drama, but it still screwed up the landing.
Yeah, the frame of the mystery didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But
That just, I'm something of a pedant when I'm a writer and a reader, and it's terrible.
So do you finish them if you don't like them?
I actually finished that one, then threw it against the wall. And
Okay.
it was a library book, and I went, oh crap, I hope I didn't break the spine.
Or the wall?
The walls in our house are used to me. You know, they know
Okay,
that they
yeah,
have
know.
to keep standing.
The book's coming. We gotta stand still.
Yeah. Hold on, guys. Incoming.
well, Jean Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, sir.
Appreciate you sticking around and pilfering strawberries off the cheese board while we're.
I didn't know there was cheese.
Yeah, by the
There's
way, there's
cheese.
cheese. So we're gonna cut this short, and we're gonna go hit the cheese board. So bye.
Before you do that, don't
Oh,
you
yes.
dare! You didn't let me say my website. I've
Where-
got bunches of stories on it. JeanMarieWard.com.
I have show notes. I typed that shit in.
And there's cheese.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jean Marie.